back, fellow babies, to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. If you're watching as a Patreon patron or as a YouTube subscriber, thank you so much for your support. If you're watching for free on YouTube a week late, at a minimum, all of you, please link your Twitch Prime account to your Amazon Prime account, because Amazon will pay us for the privilege. It costs you nothing. And the instructions are in the show description below. Remember, you have to re-up this about every month. So, just please go down and re-link it if you haven't done so in a while, because we'll get a couple of bucks for nothing. It costs you nothing. Today's question from Sifted from Damp Towel Man. Saudi Arabia's public investment fund has been making large investments in gaming companies recently, including Nintendo, Capcom, and it's purchased nearly all of SNK. It also just became the second largest shareholder in Embracer Group, purchasing 8% of shares. Why do you think Saudi Arabia is making large investments in the gaming industry? What advantages would they have as a majority shareholder of a company? Can a company refuse these investments if they're morally opposed to working with the country? Whoever manages the fund clearly likes games. And the companies that you mentioned are not U.S. companies. So, I think that ownership of U.S. companies just brings baggage with it, but the U.S. companies are all pretty good. Like Nintendo of that group is great, but, would you rather own Take-Two or Capcom? Would you rather own EA or SNK? So clearly they're just diversifying their portfolio. I think that whoever the investment manager is agrees with me that the gaming industry has another 20 years of growth at a pretty high rate, at 7 to 9% a year, that the metaverse is going to happen, and that the game companies are going to participate, that virtual reality is going to happen, and the game companies are going to participate. So I'm expecting, that as this group grows, stocks are going to go up a lot, and I think this investment manager, the Saudi Public Investment Fund, is making that bet, but I don't know what else he owns, and I don't know what percentage of their assets is in this. As far as I know, it's 1% of their assets or 2% of their assets, so who cares? You should never think about any investment fund as providing a strategic advantage by owning your stock. None, zero. Maybe an endorsement that smart investors like your company, which would make other smart investors look at it, which would make the stock go up, but it doesn't help you in sales at all, none. Can a company refuse these investments if they're morally opposed to working with the country? No, you can't. If you're publicly traded, then anybody can buy your stock. You can't say, no, you can't own my stock. If you're an investment company, you can choose not to invest in tobacco companies or arms companies or companies that have, combustion engine vehicles that they produce that hurt the environment. So sure, or companies that hurt animals or companies that employ child labor. So, you hear that, but no, you can't tell an investor, if you choose to be public, anybody who is lawfully entitled to buy your stock can buy your stock, and you can't refuse their investment. No. I mean, you could say because the profits came from the Saudi royal family's, oil efforts, but again, money is money. So no, I mean, if the Saudis do something that requires official sanctions like Russia did by invading Ukraine, then sure, then their assets will be frozen and they won't be able to do anything. Somebody who thinks that the government is corrupt, or that the Saudis exploit or mistreat women by not giving them rights, or that they killed the Washington Post journalist Khashoggi, or that they produce oil which is polluting the environment. All the killing Khashoggi is bad, but all those other things are really not crimes. You can be morally opposed to it, which means you won't travel there and you won't support the country, but not taking their money, I don't think a publicly traded company can do that. A private fund can. So if you're a venture capital fund or a private equity fund, you can say, I don't want to accept investment from from them, and that's fine. It's funny, I just advised somebody, and I really don't want to burn the company, so I won't say it, but they're the family office for a family that made its money in an objectionable way. But the investment manager is somebody that I think would put money into things that I think could use his money and would benefit. So they can choose not to take his investment, they're all private, but I'm trying to steer him into investments, private companies that I think would benefit from having his capital. And even though I find the source of the funds morally objectionable, it's not illegal, I am steering him toward good causes, toward good privates that I think would love to have his money. And one or more of them might say, I don't want to deal with you because I don't like the source of your funds. It's not, I promise it's not criminal. I don't want to give away more. Some of you will guess. But this guy is just an investment manager. He didn't make the money. He's just investing it for them. And the fact is that, everybody there's all sorts of guys who have made fortunes that we may not agree with, like Jared Kushner, slumlord, but he's still entitled to invest his money. And, you may not believe in that, but a lot of people don't, there's the McDonald's family, Ray Kroc, eating beef. You may be opposed to that. You may think we should all be vegan. So don't take their money. Thank you guys who are Patreon patrons. Thank you, YouTube subscribers. Thank all of you who have Twitch Prime accounts and link them to your Amazon Prime account. All of those are ways that Shane gets support and can keep the shows coming. And if you can't do any of those things, then at least, follow me on Twitter. You're still getting the content a week late, but I will engage with you on Twitter unless you're, well, then I probably won't. We'll see you next time.